Okay, thank you for inviting me, Todd. My name is Thomas Cannon. The name of my story is Alternate Forms of Life. And I'm going to begin in the middle of the story. In his literature class, Alexander was partnered up with Shelley, the girl next to him. He noticed her painted toes, the pimple on her left cheek, and the way her hair was a dark chestnut. Rationally, he knew that Lenny had been using hyperbole, yet a little scenario kept running through his head where she became hysterical. Really, he had no bigger worries, and it made him rub his hands up and down his thighs. He wasn't even sure how he was supposed to act in the lecture. Now he had to work with someone he didn't know one-on-one. After discreetly covering his ears as people moved their desks, he saw how she was slouching, so he slouched. She sighed. "This is so dumb." Alexander mimicked her irritated tone. "It sure is." He was so nervous at first he had trouble hearing what she said. She was just flashes with big eyelashes and white teeth. But eventually he realized that she was talking about having a difficult time keeping up with her studies in class, or even taking notes. He handed her his notebook so that she could read the directions of what they were supposed to be doing as partners. But instead she copied abbreviated versions of his answers about the life of Shakespeare. In return, she explained how the blood in Macbeth stands for honor and guilt. He had stayed up until 4 a.m. working on the symbolism question from the study guide. He wondered what Lenny would think of Shakespeare. Well, my son has autism, but Alexander is not really based on my son at all, other than that both he and Alexander are stickler for rules. But I've worked with many people with autism, and I just wanted to show how wonderful they are to have in your life. I wanted to give examples how valuable people with autism are, and how there is humor in being around them. And not humor that is at their expense, but humor with them. Well, just by watching and observing other people, I found that I've known many people that they're rough around the edges, okay, and then that kind of became a vehicle for things I heard men that say that was kind of funny, and it's more funny if the character isn't saying it just for humor. So these people are rough around the edges. They have their own faults, but they do well working with people with challenges. And sometimes it's just because they don't have the energy to treat them in a special way. So while he's not a good influence, he does have some decency, and Alexander brings that out in him. I want to showcase how real interactions between people can make each person better. Oh, absolutely. It's about a young person with autism. He's starting college, and he's kind of struggling in college, but he kind of finds this part-time job working with a man that is fixing fire suppression systems. He's really fascinated by that, so he gets this part-time job, and he's paired with this kind of curmudgeonly man who's kind of bitter, and so they just wanted to throw them together, and so then it's just their interplay and how they kind of get to know each other. And for people that want to develop stories, and characters, there's templates and things like that, like ask people, like what's their hair color, what's their birthday, what's their favorite food, what were their parents like. And that's a great way to begin. And explain later, typically I I do that second. First thing I do is just kind of start the story and see where the characters go, and then kind of change it as depending on what kind of way the characters develop. So like Ashley is the boy's mother. She's not that complex of a character, but she's the part of me and my wife that want to really protect, our son. And I also think that she kind of represents the way a parent of a child with special needs has to be. They kind of have to fight and step on people's toes to make sure that their child gets what they need. And then Shelley is the kind of the girl that Alexander likes. He's in this excerpt. They're kind of put together in English class, and she's not such a complex character either. But I think I was able to empathize with Ashley, put myself in her place. I wrote this story. Before I wrote this story, after I wrote the story, I came across the saying that you never know what somebody else is going through, so be nice. That's the kind of what I want that character represents. That everybody is struggling, even if you can't see it on the outside. The original writing of it was probably a week or two, but what I typically do is, I'll write it and then I'll let the draft sit for a while, and then come back to it and edit it, and then when maybe edit it a third time, and then when I'm ready to submit it, I'll go through it again, and then that act of, knowing that other eyes are going to get on, going to be seeing it, then I find many more things that I would like to edit. And then some stories, they can kind of sit in your head for a while, and you kind of work them out before you actually start writing them. But yeah, again, it's like I said, that I usually just kind of start with a snippet of somebody saying you need something, or just kind of a scene, and then I start writing the story and go back. But I definitely recommend kind of writing out everything about your character beforehand and getting their background. But most importantly, I really believe in kind of the tenets. There's something called the snowflake method by Randy Ingersson, and that's for novels. But basically, he shows you how to find out what motivates your character. You write down, you figure out what your character's goals are, and then you have to go what is keeping them from attaining their goal. And then, that's your main character, and then that's your protagonist, and then the antagonist. You have to do the same thing for that character. And those two should have opposite goals, so they stand in each other's way of attaining their goals. Like in my story, Letty just wants to get through the day without any hassles. But Alexander wants to learn and get in there and do things. It puts Lenny exactly in the situation he doesn't want to be in. Absolutely. I was really captivated by Harry Engstrom and John Updike's novel Rabbit Run, and then all of the sequels. I really can't identify with the things that Rabbit does, or even some things he did. But John Updike uses details of daily life and the realism of the setting, which was the time that John Updike was writing in. It really it really created a full character, while at the same time making sure that he does big things. What I'm saying is, the readers, they want to be able to just find details in the main character that they can relate to, but you also want a character to do these wild things that most people wouldn't do in real life. We have real life, so we want people doing things bigger than life. And John Updike does that really, really well. Just I am dropping December of this month. So this month, at the end of the month, my novel Shattered is coming out. It's another story that I worked on for a long time, and it's published by Tumbleweed Books, so I'm pretty excited about that.